Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. We are joined by Anne Elizabeth Burnett, the founder and president of Elizabeth Etiquette from beautiful Vancouver, Canada. She joins us here today. She's going to talk about her traditional and modern etiquette coaching that she can offer. And of course, all the training for all ages. We're talking from children to adults. Welcome to the show today, Elizabeth. How are you?
Well, thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Jill, and also good morning to our viewers and our listeners.
Beautiful. Yes. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world watching us today. We're excited to get to know Elizabeth today. Would you mind sharing a little bit about what Elizabeth Etiquette is all about?
Certainly, thank you. Yes. So, my name is Elizabeth, and I offer coaching and training to children whose parents see etiquette as an essential life skill, to adults and professionals who wonder if improving their social skills will help them move up the corporate ladder or strengthen their relationships with their customers. And also, not only that, but all ages in between, preteens, teens, youth, and those trainings can include social and table etiquette, or even interviews for private schools,
Yeah.
colleges, universities, all those sorts of things.
Well, I'm excited to find out more about all the services and what it entails. But first, I like to get to know you as a person. If you don't mind sharing a little bit of your background, tell us everything about you and what brought you here to start teaching etiquette to so many.
Well, that's an interesting question. What brought me here today? It's been a mixture of family tradition and a passion for what I do. So, in my corporate career, I worked in healthcare management, followed by a career in the financial and services industry. And having become one of the top ranked directors in the financial services industry, I found that I was always being asked about protocol, etiquette. Oh, what should I wear to this event? What do I do? I don't even know how to hold a knife and fork. And so eventually I thought, well, I'm going to turn this into a business. I'm going to start my own business. And my uncle was master of ceremonies, where he attended many royal events in London, England. My great aunts would advise others on gifts to buy, protocol, what to wear, perhaps to a state function. And while we're not doing this every day, my passion and my interest followed them. And through my inspiration from family and support and encouragement, this is what I teach today.
Beautiful. Well, we're excited to get started and just want to point out it's elizabethetiquette.com, and that's Elizabeth, etiquette spelled etiquette.com. You can go there to find out more. Let's start right now. What would you say is a good age to start teaching manners?
Well, Jill, that's a really interesting question, and one that I'm asked many times. Now, obviously, any age is a good age to start learning good manners. But yeah, just a few weeks ago, I was playing peekaboo with a little toddler who was only about 18 months old. Children love this. You pick up the cloth, you pull it
Yeah.
down, peekaboo, and pretty soon he was taking the cloth from me, putting the cloth over his head, and playing peekaboo. Now, you may say, well, children love to do that. That's pretty simple. But we don't give children, especially toddlers, credit for what they really, really pick up. Well, we can also start teaching good manners at that age by doing some simple exercises. For example, teaching them how to sneeze or cough into the bend of their arm. Make a big deal of it, make fun of it, and sort of really accentuate that noise. Shoot, and they think that's really funny. But actually, what you're really doing is teaching them good manners. You're
Hmm.
teaching them how to cough and sneeze into the bend of their arm instead of their coughs and sneezes going out into the public. Now, I know that children actually develop and learn at their own pace. And not all toddlers are going to be able to do this. I said this little boy is 18 months old, but still, you can teach them by starting to lift their arm for them and showing them, and I'll say making a game of it. Now,
Hmm.
I was on a flight, a long haul flight, several years ago now, way before we went through the pandemic. And there was a little chap in the seat ahead of me, and he had a terrible cold, coughing and sneezing and spluttering. Now, we can't uh, control our children all the time, but just even starting at that point to just stop a little bit of that, those germs going everywhere, is a start in teaching them some good manners, and they do pick it up. It's
Yeah.
amazing how quickly they do pick it up.
Well, I have a 6 and an 8-year-old. I have two little boys. And,
Oh,
as a mom, you try your best to teach them manners. And, one of the big things for us is if we go out to dinner, we go somewhere, if we're talking to someone, I always say, make eye contact. You always say, please. You say, thank you. I make them order their own food if we go out to the local Applebee's and to try to teach them, this is part of like adult life. You have to learn to connect with people and be kind to people and generous because the more you are, the better it is for everyone. And people are kinder back to you. So I really do believe in good manners. Not that my 6 and 8-year-old have fantastic manners at all, but the little things, even with my kids, like you please, you have dinner, you put your fork and your plate in the sink. You put the food, leftover food in the garbage. I'm trying my best to teach them. Doesn't always work so well, but I really believe if they do it now, it's a pattern that can continue through life and it makes it easier. Not to say you can't learn later in life, but I pride you on that because teaching the kids so young, I think, is a great idea. I also thought, I don't know how it is in Vancouver, and here in New York, it's not this way, but down south, yes, ma'am, yes, sir. And I tried with the kids, they never picked up because nobody else does it around here. But give me some other examples if you can of the teaching, young kids manners, if you don't mind.
yeah. So, though, and those are, yeah, Jill, those are some great points that you brought out there. Very important to teach our children from a young age to say please and thank you and how to dine in restaurants because what parents want their children to be an embarrassment for them. Also, they're representatives of their schools as well. People see them out. Very important. So I commend you on doing that with your children, actually. That's wonderful. Uh,
Thank you.
Another way is, children are given gifts and not I'm saying some children write thank you notes and others don't, but they really need to be encouraged to do this. And we can encourage children to do this at a very young age. And we have to set that habit first as parents, as role models, grown ups, and how we can do that even at a very young age. We perhaps there's been a birthday party, and so after the birthday party, at some point, a few days later, maybe, then we can take some paper, some crayons, and we can start at least to show children how to write a thank you note. Now people say,
That's
well, I can only, my child can only scribble right now.
Mhm.
Absolutely fine. That's their drawing. And then the grown up writes the message, dear grandma or so aunt or so and so, thank you for, mention the gift, and make that into a card. Now, as the children get older, they can draw the pictures, they can write the note, and put their name on the back. Because these cards and these drawings go into someone's very special keepsake box down the
Yeah,
road. They like to keep them, and maybe when that child gets older or much older, and then grandma brings it out and says, oh, you made this to me when you made this for me when you're only 2 years old or 18 months or whatever it is. And so, but what we're starting here is another good habit for
mm,
children to get into. So eventually, we don't have to remind them. They will get their list of the gifts that people bought them, and they will eventually write their own thank you cards and pop them in the mail. And it's a little bit more personal than typing an email. Uh, the handmade card or the handwritten card has a personal touch to it.
Yeah,
And you
absolutely.
know, if someone's gone out of their way
Yeah.
uh, to go and buy a gift, look for the gift, put time and effort
Hmm.
into that, then the least we can do is write a handwritten thank you note. And what better way to start is by teaching the children through drawing and making them
Yeah.
to do crafts.
Absolutely. Well, that's beautiful. And I love that. My little guy who's 6 loves crafts. And you're right, he doesn't write that well. He's learning a few words here and there. He's in kindergarten, but he loves being crafty and drawing and making pictures for people. And it just makes them feel so good. My older son is just not like that. It's just, everyone has a different personality, but I love that the little one is into that because you could see the difference it makes on a little picture, he loves penguins. So he draws penguins for people. And it just goes such a long way. It really does. And any other thing you want to share about any other potential, for children, the potential of etiquette and manners with them? Anything else you could suggest? Maybe give our listeners some more tips today?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, children, I like to start at the foundation that when the children are younger, because it forms good habits. But if you don't mind the mess, let the children help you wash up. Yes, you're going to get water everywhere, and just let them rinse the dishes for you. You know, bring that little stool up to the kitchen sink, and
Yeah,
as you're washing, but when you put them in the other sink, let them rinse them off. This is the way that gets them involved. Perhaps on laundry day, you're changing the beds. Let them help change the beds, or lift the sheets and put them in the laundry basket. Yes, they're going to have a lot of fun. Are they going to jump in the sheets? Are they going to put them over their head? Yes, they are. But this is a way that we can encourage them to help us and show good manners at the same time by being a helping part of the family and a part of the household. And this eventually helps you too as parents when children are helping you. And eventually, as they're older, you can ask them, please, could you take the sheets off your bed? And,
mm-hmm.
and this helps with the family chores. More often than not, both parents are working. And as your children get older, that helps if they've already got into that habit, rather than looking on it as a chore, which, yes, when they become teenagers, this does happen, they will be more inclined to help you. And little ones do really want to help. Usually they have lots of stuffies and teddies on their beds. You can ask them to take all those off the bed. They can easily do that. Take them
Yeah,
off the bed so that you can get to the sheets and let them help you in any little way they can. When they get undressed, show them, have a laundry basket nearby so they can put their own clothes in the laundry basket. These are
yeah,
simple things that parents, caregivers can do to actually encourage their children
yeah.
to establish these good habits when
Good.
they're young, as opposed to thinking, oh, when they can do that when they're older. They're too little to do that. They don't really know how to do that. Children do.
They have to learn somewhere. You're right. Elizabeth, let's remind our listeners how we can reach out to you. Could you share all forms of contact before we continue?
You can reach me at elizabethetiquette.com. That's my website. And my email address is elizabeth@elizabethetiquette.com. Or my office line is 604-882-4910. You can leave a message and we'll get back to you. But elizabethetiquette.com, you will find a link if you wish to book a Zoom call with me, a Zoom meeting, a Zoom class. And also, I've recently launched an online program where parents and children can learn together.
Congratulations. Tell us about it.
Well, it's the foundation of etiquette, and it's the lesson one of a series that I will be creating. More will be added throughout the year. And in this particular lesson, you will learn how to present yourself appropriately, how to shake hands properly, deportment, posture, sitting for ladies and gentlemen, and a lot more information and tips on being able to present yourself appropriately, including how to make that eye contact and exercises that you also mentioned earlier, Jill, the importance
Yes.
of the eye
Well,
contact.
I grew up in, well, I didn't grow up in, I chose to go into a field of communication. So I got my master's in communications and I've been working in television and radio ever since I was a teenager. So to me, I learned just from my environment. Nobody taught me. I mean, school helped, and then the internships helped. And then you realize it's just part of who you are. I just love people and I'm a people person, but I also I see those that struggle with making eye contact or feeling comfortable in a room. So I also have a lighthearted side of me that makes jokes and tries to make everyone feel comfortable. Um, but it's very important, especially in all aspects of life, especially as we get older with school and with work, to have these proper manners. It makes for just an overall better person. And I try explaining that to my kids right now, and they don't understand it. But I, even with their brushing their teeth, you got to brush your teeth, you got to floss your teeth, because in life, you don't want to have ugly yellow teeth, because you got to take care of yourself. People are going to look at you, judge you. You have to present yourself properly. I said, you may not be blessed with good white teeth, but try to take care of them. Try, I'm just, you think big, even though their minds don't think big, but it's important to start at a young age. And I know you also wanted to touch base about siblings, and how you can, they could help, each other in a sense, kind of guide each other. Could you share a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Jill. Uh, I have quite a few families that take classes with me, and I find that when there's sibling rivalry sometimes, Jill, you may be aware of this, having children yourself, and so they're hesitant to look out for each other or to say, well, you're not doing that right. Or sometimes they're very open about saying, you can do, you're supposed to do it this way, or you're supposed to do it that way, and pointing the finger.
Mm-hmm.
What I encourage is that, you know, when we work together, there's no I in team. So we need to work together on this. And so perhaps I've given them exercises and homework to practice after the class, or they always have homework after the class to practice. But
Yeah.
if they see each other doing something that perhaps, like we're talking about handshakes or making that eye contact, or perhaps at the table not using the napkin correctly, then it's good to point, I mean, don't point it out in public, but help each other. And by doing this, they can say something like, well, Miss Elizabeth showed us this way, or remember in class,
Yeah.
it this way. And that way they're not picking on each other, they're not being critical of each other. In fact, it's
Mm-hmm.
constructive criticism, is good feedback. And no one will tell you like your own siblings and your
True.
own family. And so I encourage them to point things out to each other, because then they can learn together.
Yeah.
If they
Absolutely.
practice the exercises together, they learn together, and of course they learn faster that
And
way.
and let me ask you now, with as far as etiquette is concerned, what bothers me greatly is you see everyone on their cell phones, everyone always in another world. It's part of our society and life. It's just different. It's changed. But isn't there common, or should be common etiquette, like when you're out to dinner, not to have your phone on the table? I mean, could you give me just and now kids grow up on the phone. So how do we teach our kids etiquette with the cell phone or the iPad?
Well, I always tell my students, well, children, adults, when you're in the company of another person, your phone is off. It's in your
Hmm.
pocket, it's in your purse, and you're focused on the other person. We're not constantly picking our phone up like this, which I've seen many times. People meeting, and the people, because the phone, when it's put on the table, is a distraction, and it's also very, very bad manners to do that. Now, if one has an emergency, perhaps they have a family member is in the hospital or something, and they may be receiving a call, and that may be an emergency call, then put that phone on vibrate and actually mention to your friends, your guests, that you may be receiving a call. got your phone on vibrate and you may have to excuse yourself.
Yeah.
Otherwise, absolutely no phones on the table when you're in the presence of others. Turn them off, put them in your purse, put them in your pocket, and enjoy the conversation. We can learn things from each other that we can't learn if our mind, our eyes, our focus is on our phone.
Oh, got it. Well, we still have a few minutes left in the show, and we're talking about mostly about kids today, but you also do etiquette coaching with adolescents, with adults. So what else did you have in mind since this is our first show? I'll ask you, what else did you want to kind of focus on for today?
Well, I also do speaking engagements for organizations. I do I do training programs for large groups, and these may be. I've worked with Miss BC, which is a pageant up here in Canada. I've worked with um, youth and adults that have come through rehabilitation programs for drug and alcohol abuse, but they've done the therapy programs and now they're ready to go out into the world again and engage in social and and dining activities, and also
Yeah,
interviews for jobs because they're going back out
correct.
as a
Yeah.
contributing member of society. And actually, I had the honor of being the etiquette consultant to the BFG movie. With director Steven Spielberg. So that was a wonderful experience where I worked with the cast and crew on the BFG, the Big Friendly Giant, which is actually a Roald Dahl book. But for individuals that really feel that their manners and their dining etiquette, or perhaps they want to go on a date and they're feeling really nervous about that. We're not doing everything by Zoom today. We are seeing meeting people in person, and that could be your date. And you need to brush up on those etiquette skills. I also teach dating etiquette as well. So really for all aspects of life.
Yeah. Got it.
Uh,
Well, thank you so much because it's so important to have these certain tools and they can help you in any career you're in, any journey you're in. And it just makes you, I got to say, it sets you apart, even for these children and adolescents in school. And I try to tell my son, when you sit in class, sit proper, sit, but kids are kids and, they're fidgety and they like getting up and moving around. But I'm like, these things matter. And that's another thing, though. It is hard to get a child to sit still. Would you agree?
I absolutely agree. And you know what's really, and this is where it's important to just take one step at a time. You know, practice makes perfect. It may take a long time, but eventually they will do it. And it's not just for children either. It's for adults.
Yeah.
And preteens and teens and our youth of today, that and also a lot of people don't sit together at the dining table every evening.
No.
And
Yeah.
so these skills that perhaps they have been taught and they've forgotten, or maybe they haven't been taught at all, are really, really integral to being an all-rounded person. Academics are very
Yeah.
important,
Hmm.
uh, but being able to present ourselves is equally as important. If they have both, those are indeed the key to success in life.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining us, for being here today and enlightening us on our first of, I hope, many podcasts. When will you be
Yes,
back?
I'll be back next Wednesday, same time.
Perfect. All right, good. Well, let's remind everyone how they can reach out to you. You offer initial consultation if someone's interested.
Yes, I do. And people can reach me by email, elizabeth@elizabethetiquette.com. My website is elizabethetiquette.com, and my phone number is 604-882-4910. And I'd be happy to answer your questions or teach you the finer skills of life.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here. Have a fantastic day. And to all of our listeners and viewers, please stay tuned. More of the shows coming up after.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.